So let me just first start by introducing myself. And this technique is working just perfectly, I would say. My name is Jeroen Renes. And the guy next to me is Rudy.
Hello, everybody.
And we'll both be giving you the APA presentation. And let me just quickly move to the PowerPoint. So, there you go. So we're going to talk about accounts payable automation. Before we start off, maybe a practical remark. So we'll first have a brief look at the how and why we designed and launched APA, the product. And after that, Rudy, who just left the stage, but he'll be back, no worries. He'll take care of the demo. One important thing, there's Q&A listed here at the bottom, but since, well, talking to you via YouTube is a one-way street, we would like to invite you to ask any questions you may have or remarks. That you can use the chat box on your YouTube screen. It's somewhere on the bottom right of your screen. Please feel free to put anything in there as long as it has to do with APA. And then we'll get back to you, well, real time, because we're real time here and we're live. So, for those of you who don't know Steltix, just a brief introduction. We have offices in 8 countries, and the one thing we do is JD Edwards. That has always been the case since the early days, which is over 10 years ago. And services we offer include projects, amongst others upgrades or new implementations, rollouts for example, American companies wanting to roll out to Europe. And support services. And support services are actually our lifeline with our customers. That is our strategic service, so to say. These are typically long-term SLA contracts in which we build a long-term and strategic relation with our customers. Last couple of years especially, we are asked to take care of the complete JD Edwards environment of our customers. Some call it hosting, some call it managed services. The key here is that companies ask us, we don't want to have anything to do with our JD Edwards environment anymore from a infrastructural point of view and support point of view. You take care of it. Private cloud, public cloud, Amazon, Oracle, or Azure, we don't care. You take care of it, and that's it. Today we're going to look at products. Well, actually one product, which is APA. There are several products we built the last years on top of JD Edwards, mainly because customers of ours saw functionality missing in JD Edwards. Some of you may already know or even use these products. I would like to invite you, if you're interested to learn what these products do. We organize product webinars for these as well, every now and then on a regular basis. So have a look at our website, steltix.com, and you can register online there for other product webinars. So, back to the subject of today, the AP process. When we talk to customers, these are typically issues they run into when we talk about AP automation. And if one or more of these subjects apply to you, well, there may be a good reason to work with the tool we look at today, APA, since that is, well, designed to automate your process in an efficient way. So why did we come up with APA? Since JD Edwards version 9.1, automated voucher matching is part of the functionality, which is quite nice and working nicely. But we found that the big challenge is how do we get invoice information into JD Edwards in a decent way. And this input can be a PDF, a paper, XML, EDI, just about anything. And in addition to getting this invoice information into APA, how can we leverage that with standard JD Edwards functionality? So that was key. The key takeaway, number one. Number two was we found that other products already available on the market were not that scalable. If we talk about number of scans the solution can handle. So this is a very important point that we use as a starting point when designing APA. It has to be scalable. Based on your number of scans, whether it is 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 or more, we make sure that APA doesn't let you down, I guess. So on a high level, and again, Rudy will talk about the product in more detail and show it to you. APA consists of three components. The first bit is the capture bit, where we have to capture information and validate the information. We use Iris software for this, which is OCR software. It's part of the Canon group, but this can be any OCR solution you may already have or that you want to invest in maybe in the near future. We use this information that is captured by the or a OCR solution and validate that in the APA workbench. We can also enrich this information in there using JD Edwards data. And if everything is okay and correct, we make sure that it lands nicely and is being processed in JD Edwards. So that's, for as far as I'm concerned, a brief introduction into and some background. Rudy will now join me again on the stage, and we'll dive into the solution itself. Again, and I'm looking every now and then on my screen on the left, for you guys at the right, I think. If you have questions, please use the chat box on the right hand side of your screen. Okay, Rudy.
Thank you, Jeroen, for this good introduction. And hi, everybody. My name is Rudy Menke. I'm finance consultant at Steltix, working with GDettos for 15 years, employee of Steltix for 9 years, mainly focused on finance. And today I will tell you a little bit, but also show you a little bit about our accounts payable automation solution. We start with explaining you a little bit about what you can expect if you use Iris, the solution that we have invested in together with our partner to have a complete solution for a paper document scanned invoice to an automated invoice that you can process in JD Edwards. Then afterwards I will tell you a little bit about the different scenarios that APA has, and I will also show you that in the system, of course, because that's what everybody is waiting for, I guess. Like Jeroen stated before, if you have any questions, if you have a remark, please don't hesitate. We like to keep it interactive, so if you have anything, put it in the chat box and we will come back to it as soon as we can. So first I'm going to tell you something about the Iris tool that we partnered up with to make this product possible, to have one invoice that we scan and that we use the Verify tool for, that you see here on the right side of my screen, to see which information can be picked up by the OCR. Well, Iris Verify is the tool that we use, and they have a scanning automation that we call OCR, which is Optical Character Recognition. And with the optical character recognition, it can fetch the information from an invoice and see, okay, hey, I search for an invoice number. Oh, it's stated there. There I find my invoice number. And on which side of the paper do I find the actual invoice number? Because I have a header invoice number and then the text invoice number that you want to fetch back. So that they have the OCR recognition, the tool for that to make that happen. Then next to that, there is in the Verify tool, there's a Windows client where you can correct and also make the system auto-learn those positions on the invoice. The paper invoice has a lot of information that you want to put inside the boxes on the Verify tool. There's a Windows client, but just came out is the web client, which you can use to online map all the information that was not automatically extracted in the Iris tool. My colleague also stated before that the information is enriched with information from GD AdWords. So there is a link between the GD AdWords address information, the GD AdWords purchase order information, and is enriched if some character is recognized on the invoice. It can also fetch more information based on the GD AdWords data that is delivered. I will show you that in more detail later. A thing that is very particular in this solution is that some invoices have several subtotals and might even have several VAT rules. For example, in the Netherlands we have a 6 and a 21% percentage, and that can be picked up in the summary of the invoice and is fetched by the scan and capture tool and can be sent to GD AdWords. Do we have questions, Jeroen?
No, just volume, but you are already doing very
Okay.
fine. Thanks.
Okay,
Verity.
perfect.
Just checking.
Very good to give feedback. I will try to raise my voice a little bit for the coming time. So then, after we scan that information in the Iris tool, information is being sent to our APA workbench. And that APA workbench receives the information based on the functional PDF with the physical invoice, and also it gets an XML where the enriched and captured data is being sent to. My colleague also stated before that it's not necessarily to have that Iris tool if you have a different source, like a different scanning product, or even XML information, EDI information. We can also get that information translated to the APA tool, so it can also process those records. The different scenarios available that we support are the direct cost vouchers. So when somebody has made a purchase which didn't make a purchase order, which can be a little bit a risk. But then you also want to capture that in your supplier ledger information. You make a direct cost voucher, and we also have an approval in that, so that when a certain amount is reached, that one or several people has to give approval to get that completely correct in the GD AdWords system. Next to that we have Voucher Match, which you might not know has a two-way and three-way way of working. The two-way is when you have an actual purchase order that you want to match against an invoice, and the three-way is that you have a purchase order, a receipt, and then the invoice that you want to match it against. Those scenarios are also automated in our APA tool. So the information is automatically picked up, saying, hey, we have a purchase order on our invoice, supplier invoice, and we can match that automatically in APA. Then last but not least are the locked vouchers. So if you have a supplier that you generally have problems with, or you don't manage to make it automized properly, you can directly make it into a locked voucher. So you have the information in your system, and from there you can pick it up and use it manually in any way that you or your colleagues want. So now I will make a quick switch to our GD AdWords instance. Jeroen, can you check if we already have some potential questions?
No, we're all good, Rudy. I think it's all very clear.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds
So
great.
I will just stand here as your lovely co-host, right?
yeah, you will get all the questions and you will interrupt me if we have any things to be asked and
Next
be
time
questioned.
I will wear my wig, my blonde wig.
Okay. So as you can see, we are logged into GD Editors, and I think that catch your eyes immediately that we have a beautiful E1 page where we actually have the complete daily process that we use in APA. On the blue screens, the blue little boxes are the ones that really represent the APA tool. So we have the import of the scanned vouchers, we have the process of those vouchers if they're correctly mapped, enriched, and captured. And on the right side, you see that we have a scanned voucher approval. So how many vouchers do I still have to approve? In this case, you see that I still have 12 to approve. And completely on the right side, we have the work center approvals, which we use as a workbench to do the approval, the rejection, and potentially a reroute. I will show you that later. Then under the import vouchers, you see the APA workbench, and this is actually the box where everything happens, the box of magic, which I will show in a second, of course. The yellow boxes represent standard GD Edwards software, especially in the financial suite. So when you have created and processed all your vouchers, you get a financial badge, which you have to post, and you want to see them in your voucher inquiry to see what's open, or might be used to check for duplicate invoices that you want to resolve. The green box represents the purchasing part, because there you look at the receipts that you want to voucher. So you can see if they actually received or if they already matched there. If they're not there, there's nothing to match. So I will go into our APA workbench. And then we see all the hidden features that this workbench has. First, I will show you a little bit around what are we looking at, because I can imagine that's quite overwhelming in the first place. But we see a bunch of check marks which we can use to customize the way we present information. On top you have the process, so you can see, okay, we have those different scenarios. We have a voucher match, a direct cost voucher, a locked voucher, or it's undetermined. So if you press one of these checkboxes, you only see the vouchers that represent a voucher match. Then on the right side, you see a status where you can say, okay, I want to only see my unprocessed ones because I'm only interested in those. I want to make sure that I resolve those unprocessed vouchers. Then I go back to the left on the approval part. You see checkboxes to filter on if something is approved in your workflow, if it's pending, rejected, or has to be reworked on. And then last but not least, we have the validation boxes, which represent errors, warnings, and passed. In the best situation, of course, we have everything as passed and automatically matched. That is the point, the purpose of APA. We want to make sure that everything is automized. Everything is captured properly, everything is connected and matched properly, and automatically sent through to GD Editors. That is possible. All the reports that are used for this, for both the import as the process function, can be scheduled. However, sometimes you might end up in errors. The first thing you would standardly do is to see, okay, do we still have things that we need to have imported? Do we still have a network folder where something has to be imported? We have the import function, and here we have several profiles, so you can also determine that several invoices go to different network folders and can be picked up by several different people with different matching rules. In this case, I have my own set. It shows the network folder that you want to get those supplier invoices from. I press OK. I press another time OK to get my report starting. And then if I press find, you see that several other errors come up. I'm only interested in my unprocessed right now. So then on the bottom point you see the query by example and the columns of this view. And here you see a batch number, which is more or less the EDI batch number. This is a quite technical term, but that is the process behind, the interface. Then you see the process routine, what kind of error or what kind of process are we talking about? Are we talking about a direct cost voucher? Are we talking about a voucher match? Or is it undetermined? We don't know what it is. We have a validation status, where we're going to look into. Is it an error? Do I have warnings? And after that, you will see booking documents. Of course, we don't have that yet because we didn't process any document. And we also see an approval status, which for these are also not very applicable. I will show you that in a second. And on the right side, you see some information that is automatically mapped by the capturing. You see supplier names, you see invoice numbers, you see amounts, and companies. Let's start with a voucher match. I will open one of the error documents. No, I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at the error first. That might be more interesting. We first want to know what are the errors. We have two messages in here. The first message is that we have a duplicate invoice number. And that is found in AP. Which is a very helpful warning because you want to make sure that you don't pay your suppliers double. So this way you can pick up the invoice number and find in your sub-administration, hey, do I have anything else that is similar and did I pay this already? This can also be an error that is depending on your settings in GD AdWords, that it is no warning, or it is a warning, or it is an error, actually error, and then you have to do something with it. Then a real error that is stated underneath is that it say, hey, we found in the capturing this order reference, but we didn't find it in the F4311. That's another technical term, that is the purchase order table. So it didn't find the purchase order that is mapped here. That is weird, so we have to look into that. So now I will open my document. And if I open my document, two things are very important. On the right side, you see the physical invoice. It's a bit difficult to see because our heads are in there now. And on the left side, you see everything that is captured, which is quite much, actually. The thing is, it didn't find the purchase order. And if you paid a lot of attention before, we are busy in company 160 and not in company 1. Of course, I can take a row exit and look for my purchase order and see what's there and what is received and not. Here I know what the error is, so I will map it quickly. Then if I want to make sure that we don't have errors anymore, we want to validate it, and we can do that with the recalculate VAT details. If I click on this, it will think a little bit. It will give a validation status on top, on the right side, which is now stating a warning confirmed, which is the warning of my duplicate invoice number. And underneath you see all the information that is picked up from the purchase order. We have quantities, we have amounts, net and gross, we have a VAT rate, and next to that the purchase order information. Well, for me this is enough to go on. I press OK, and let's see what happens in my workbench. You see that there's only a warning left, and I would be able to process this document now, which I will do. Right mouse button, click on it. I can validate another time if I want. In this case I want to process it and see what happens. So you see that several columns are filled with information. In the middle you see successfully processed with a yes, which means, hey, this has been sent through to your sub-administration. You see a booking document which represents your voucher match in this case. I will click on it. And then you will see that you come in your voucher match screen. You will see all the header information, you see the purchase order information. All the information is available there, and you can see if that's correct and else take action. Then what you also see is an approval status, because of course for every action you make we have an approval workflow installed, and that approval workflow is stating whether this document can be paid, yes or no. And that is very important because that's actually the split that you make. Do we want to pay this? Yes, no. In this case it's pending, so the payment status is on hold, so nothing will be paid. And as soon as this went through workflow, it's going to end up in hopefully approved, and from then it can be paid. Let's have a little look on our direct cost voucher. You see the cost voucher. First I click on the arrow button to see what it didn't capture. It shows the invoice number is blank and it shows the invoice date is blank. Okay, that's interesting. It might be that somebody made a scratch on the invoice and it didn't show. We're gonna look into it, and we're gonna map it manually with our own information. Let's see the date. Maybe let's use the date of today. And the number, we will quickly make it today's date. And I give it a next number so we can follow it. Of course, I can do another recalculation to see what it does. And it says the validation is passed. So again, the information is shown on the right side of the invoice, and on the left side you see everything that is captured. And let's see what we want to show here. If I find my mouse back, yes, there it is. We see, of course, here you see a gross amount in the header, and then on the detail you see a net amount. You see that the tax rate area has been picked up. It has a VAT rate picked up, a VAT amount. And on the right side, very interesting, it shows the account number, which has also been picked up. How can that be scanned, you think? How can that be captured? It isn't. That's stated in our APA solution, which I will show you later. Well, also for this one, we're going to do the same. We're going to press OK to save it. We're going to say, hey, process this one, please. And automatically comes on status pending. If you want to know where it is pending, you can put a right mouse button click. You go to a workflow inquiry. You select the document which you want to check. And you see here it started. And then it sent a message, which can be an email. Or it can be a notification. And we see that a message has been sent to the test approver to approve this. So let's approve this voucher so you also see how that process works. And for that I'm going to log out and log into a new role. You might have some extra questions in the meantime.
No thoughts, no questions.
No thoughts, no questions.
No,
okay.
No.
That's too bad.
Apparently this is all very clear.
Oh, that is good news, huh? So I logged in as the test approver, and I will first show you how that is set up. So we go back to the setup. And there we have several informations available. We have voucher match approvers, which are stated here. Then we have a distribution list for the voucher match. We have distribution list also for the voucher match. There's a difference between the logistics, so differences on quantities. So when there is a difference on a quantity, you do a voucher match, and you want to say, hey, somebody has to look into that. Then you can create a distribution list for logistics who has to approve or reject, and make sure that those things are confirmed. And the same you have for the purchase side. That's basically on amount. So when you have difference on amount, also then somebody has to look into it and say, hey, this is correct or this is not correct. Then on the distribution list for the cost vouchers, we stated the several people in here in approval list which are referred to a specific amount to which they have to approve. So I have my approval list here. I can look into it in more detail. Again, this is all native GD AdWords, the workflow tool. And what we see here is that in fact there are two basic approvers. And those are there to help with escalation. So when somebody doesn't react in a certain amount of hours and minutes, you see on your screen escalation hours and minutes. If it's past due that time, then it goes directly to these escalation paths. Then you see from 100 euros that myself can approve. You see that from 101 euros my test approver can approve. And we have a very expensive colleague who wants to approve only from invoices from 12,000. We have another option that I find quite helpful, which is the first response. So if you have an approval list, and you can make as many as you want, you can put somebody, you can check the first response. So if somebody in that list says yes, then okay, the voucher can proceed. All the amounts are based on the net amount of the supplier invoice. Back to our daily process, because we wanted to approve that little supplier invoice that we mapped. You see also that there is one waiting to be approved. And in my work center, I see which one it is, which supplier it is, and which company. I take my mouse button, I can view my vouchers from here, because again, that's already in the sub-administration, but with payment status on hold. And I go to the approval, and in the approval, I can choose either to approve it with a remark, to reject it with a remark, or to reroute it. If there's an invoice that's not particular for me, I can say, hey, please go move it to this list, because it's more appropriate for them to approve this than for me. In this case, I approve it, and underneath you also see the details with the GL account. Can also be interesting. I approve this invoice, I press find, and it is gone here. I go back to my own user. Jeroen, in the meantime, do we have some questions?
This is a good moment
Oh, yeah, please.
So I've got two questions for you, Rudy.
Yeah.
The first one is, and I'm just reading out loud to you, so...
I look over your shoulder to see...
Yeah. So I have to check the errors first, before you go into the invoice, as the invoice screen is not showing any error or red text where the issue is.
So like I said before, the thing is that if you have the process under control, you have things properly mapped, you have a proper capturing and etc., then you have as less errors as possible. Once you have errors, then the first thing you do in the morning is to check, hey, do I have errors? And if yes, click on it and see which errors there are. So yeah, you have to...
Yeah, in the workbench,
You
right?
have to click in the workbench, yeah.
Yeah.
From the workbench you process any voucher that you get if there's an error. And if you not automatically process them, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one, I hope that answers your question, by the way. If not, please let us know.
Yeah. The other one is, can distribution lists be linked to the PO? For example, to the ordered by.
The distribution list, well, again, we are very flexible in those. So those lists can be set up by a lot of people that are part of that. And I don't think there currently is the thing to make it ordered by, that they always have to approve. But of course, we're open for suggestions, and we're always developing this product. So if that is a big wish from your company, we're always ready to think along and make sure that we meet the requirements.
Okay. Well, while we have a go, one other one, and then I'll just let you go on for a second. Can the approver see the invoice document when approving?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
I didn't show that now, but
No, that's fine. Okay. The answer is yes then.
Yeah.
Okay.
of course
Thanks,
they can view the voucher, and in the voucher view you have a direct link on the with the physical invoice.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So back to my workbench, because I want to see what happened with my cost voucher. You see, here it is. The invoice number I did 2018-10-24 -3. It's completely approved. And if I go to my booking document now, you will see that currently it has the pay status approved. In the middle of the screen you should pay status. It was on hold and now it is approved, so now it can be paid to your supplier. We also saw here, when I go back into this document, that it automatically picked up an account number. And how does it know? Well, we have several ways to go into our setup. One way to check the setup is that we can go from the form to accounts. And in this account setting, we make sure that we map either the company, either the supplier, with a bunch of GL accounts which are applicable to them. So we can do it on several ways. We have a category code which we can apply to the complete company. Or we say, no, this supplier only sent us these kind of expenses and they only have to book on these GL accounts, and we can map them. In this case, we had the facta aandachttechniek, which we booked to the interstate bank. And this was not a default account, but in this case, we used an account search string for the automatic mapping. And maybe I have to elaborate on that, because the account strings, and you see several ways here, they are also linked back to your verify screen, Iris Verify, because there it will look in the detail of the invoice text for the word bank cost, and if it's there, then it will pick up this GL account. If there's none, then you might use this one. If you always have one GL account, you can also hit the default account button, and then it automatically always is mapped to that account. And on the right side, you see that there are a lot of search strings that you can use for the same account, so that might be interesting. You can add subtype and subledger for these kinds of things. We can default text codes if we know, okay, the invoices from this supplier always have this text code. We can also hard code that. We can also leave it blank. And on the right side, very important is the approval list, because with that approval list, you determine which people are necessary to give the approval for the supplier invoices of this specific supplier or per company, of course. Another thing that I want to elaborate on is the soft coding part of APA. So if I go to my setup, I have to look at my screen a little bit, make sure we get the right screen in front of us. Then we see here a bunch of things. We have a profile that can be powerful, because then you can, for several departments, you can create your own profile, your own network share, and only process those supplier invoices. It can be interesting when you are a supply chain center. You have we have a locked voucher determination where you can directly map, okay, this supplier has to use this, always has to make a locked voucher. I showed you the cost accounts, and I showed you quickly the approval routes. Then underneath you have the Iris extract setup, and in the Iris extract setup, you give information to the Iris interface, so to the verify tool, to make sure that they can enrich the data that they send back. And that can be, of course, companies. You can have an organization with a lot of different companies. You can do it on currency code to say, hey, I can show it quickly. A euro can be distinguished as euro or a UR or the character string. The same is applicable for invoice numbers. In this case, we have several types that Iris can verify and say, hey, if it's a Rechnungsnummer, then I understand that I have to look for an invoice number, and it's mapped more or less there, and I have to get the information there. So there we soft code all these informations in here. Document type is also important, because there you distinguish whether you use credit notes or not, and there you have several strings that you can soft code and bring back to your verify tool. What you have to do is create an all CSV, make sure that all those settings are being pushed in one file, and then bring it back to your Iris to make sure that they understand what is necessary. So far my demonstration. Do we have questions?
Just a quick question. Which languages does Iris support? Not sure whether you know that by heart.
I don't know it by heart, but a lot, because it's worldwide supported. So
yeah, and I think we even got the question whether Iris supports the Chinese language, and we got to go for that as well.
Yeah,
so
it does.
if you require an extensive list, just drop me an email and I'll get that list to you. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna bring you back to the presentation now.
Yep.
Okay. And I give you
the podium.
The podium again. Yes.
Cheers. So just wrapping up Rudy's demo briefly. What do we think is special about APA? One, it's native JD Edwards. We're leveraging JD Edwards functionality and just maybe using that in a more sensible way. And we can work with any OCR software and incorporate or work with several feeds, multiple feeds. And as you could see in Rudy's demo, from an audit point of view, for you, for your auditors, we're using the JD Edwards workflow engine, so everybody knows what someone has been doing at what moment in time. Well, I guess this is the key. These are the key takeaways for now. Let me just quickly take you to the last slide. So what we've been trying to do, Rudy and I, is giving you a high-level overview of what APA could do. We hope you're, well, we made you a bit curious. Maybe you want to know more. You want to know more about the product itself. Maybe you want to see a bit more detailed information or functionality. Also from an investment point of view, if you want to have an indication of what would this product cost, please share your details with me. From an investment point of view, it's quite easy actually, because we only need a number of scans that you want to process per week, month or year, and I'll get you a quote, well, the next day actually. But maybe now, before we say goodbye, maybe there's some more questions, so let me just
join
yeah, you just joined the podium again. It's yep, there you go. Switch. Do our little switch.
the switch.
So let me see. Chinese will do.
Chinese will do.
Oh, there you go.
That's good.
So let's see. Assuming it will work fine with partial matching to POs.
The parchment, so you have, yeah, that would be working fine. However, you might trigger then an approval route, because yeah, there are some differences between what you invoiced and what's actually total on the PO. So then you might have some extra approval routes to bypass.
Okay.
There's another one.
Let's see. How does it know which line on the PO to match with this line?
Well, the information that can be read and the information that is enriched from GD Edwards, that combination is the strong one. So it would capture by lines the information. Hey, I have this quantity, I have this amount, and then it will match on the lines that are on the invoice actually, and on the purchase order.
Okay. Thanks, Rudy. Any performance reporting available? Well, since we're both not very technical, I wouldn't dare to answer that, to be honest, Rien. Let me check that with a colleague of mine, Johan.
If you can elaborate what she means with performance, because it can have several.
Yeah.
It can have several meanings, of course.
Yeah. If there's a specific topic you wanna know more about, Rien, please share that with us in the chat. And otherwise, there you go. This doesn't have to do anything. This is something we should know, Rien. So what is an average, say, auto-match percentage that we see at customers?
Yeah, basically it really depends on the customer, but generally I would say at least 80%.
Okay.
But it really depends on how difficult the invoice you have, of course, because there's so many different scenarios that it can be quite complex.
Well, I once received demo example invoices of a customer that is interested in APA, with a lot of stickers, writing, handwriting, and stuff on it. So that would definitely not help, right?
That's why we go paperless, right?
Yeah, but it does make the scanning difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Any additional questions or remarks? Otherwise, we'll just keep staring at the screen, huh?
Or in the camera.
Yeah, you just stare at the camera and I'll stare at the screen.
We leave it open a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no, not minutes, I guess. So, for now, we thank you for your patience, because in the end we did start a little bit late due to YouTube. So we'll send them a nasty letter and complain. But thank you again for joining us. If there's any information you require or you want to know, just let us know. It was a pleasure having you in this webinar, and we'll probably share this in a couple of days on our YouTube channel. So, but we'll keep you posted on that if you want to see this webinar replay it. Okay. Well, thanks, and have a very nice evening. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you so
bye.
much. Bye.
Other hand.